It's my pleasure to welcome all-time great Hall of Fame broadcaster Jim Nantz to Questions for Cancer Research today. Jim, how are you?
I'm really well. Being in your company, Chris, has been a long time. We used to walk the fairways together at beautiful Wingfoot Golf Club back in the day, and I'm excited to see you looking well.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's been great. I always follow you closely. It's been great to stay in touch over the years. Let's start in with a few questions for you today. We'll try and get as much as we
Sure.
can. We're so grateful for your time. We're going to limit you to 30 minutes because you're on a tight schedule. But let's start with something that's really important to you and us all. It's been pretty well known how exceedingly difficult it was for you and your family to watch your father battle and ultimately pass from Alzheimer's. Your Hello Friends broadcast greeting connecting you to your dad is amazing. Please tell us about the Houston-based Nantz National Alzheimer's Center and the progress being made with Alzheimer's treatments and research.
Well, the good news is the last 18 months to 2 years has been the most prosperous time in terms of research and advancement in the history of the studies of Alzheimer's disease. There have been some really great breakthroughs. But the Nantz National Alzheimer's Center in Houston at Houston Methodist Hospital is named for my father. It's the most enriching and rewarding thing that I've ever been a part of in my life, outside of being a father. But my dad suffered for 13 years. I wrote a book about my dad called Always by My Side. When I wrote the book, Chris, I realized that I was touching on an issue that so many people could relate to, not only about a family trying to look after, support, and be there every waking second for their loved one. But so the caregiving side was one thing, but it just resonated with people, and I knew that I needed to do something more than just running around the country covering the greatest events of American sports. So rolled up my sleeves, so to speak. So did everybody else in my family, and we wrote a check to start the foundation of the Nantz National Alzheimer's Center, and it's been now around for coming up on 14 years. It's been a wonderful gift in our lives to see it grow, see my father's voice being heard after a 13-year battle and an unwinnable cause. We're going to get to the point where we can win. The research is starting to turn the corner, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, no, it's been great to see some progress made, and I know a long way to go. I guess we got about 6.7 million Alzheimer patients in the US, and at the current rate projected to be 14 million by 2050. But I think with some of the things that are coming out, even some of the things that will potentially help me and others with cancer, these IDO1 inhibitors, and I know that you guys have been at the forefront identifying some of these things as, the tau plaque and everything. So I think
You're on it.
the momentum, I think, what is just starting to get rolling.
Well, you obviously know a lot about it because you're right. These inhibitors are huge. So when they have these doomsday projections about 2050, I don't believe in them because I think we're going to be able to be preventative.
Yeah.
In the next decade, it's going to be prolific, the research, because when one chip falls, it seems like 5 chips fall behind it. And there's one drug which we trialed at the Nantz Center. It was called lecanemab, and it was trialed at the early onset level for Alzheimer's. It has now also been going through the trial phase of preventative before you have Alzheimer's. And those studies are still ongoing, but the results so far are staggeringly brilliant. And it's going to be able to, I believe, prevent a lot of people that might be predisposed from ever having to face the harsh reality of Alzheimer's disease themselves.
Yeah, well, listen, I know how near and dear it is to your heart, but really, thank you for taking that on. I mean, this is something that the country, not to mention the world, really needs. So appreciative, and best of luck with all that.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
Jim, in 1989, you began your role in the 18th tower at the Masters, and in 1990, you assumed the role of covering the Final Four, both for CBS Sports. Can you try to convey to the average sports fan just how special it was each year to sit courtside for the Final Four and then to head straight to Augusta National for the Masters? Because I'll tell you what, for every one of those years I sat in on you, that's for sure.
It was, I think it was the greatest double in sports broadcasting. And I say that humbly and gratefully because I got to live it for many, many years. I got to live it really, truly from the 86 Masters until a year ago. Because if I wasn't hosting the Masters starting in 89, I was working the 16th hole beginning in 86. So the Masters and the Final Four reside back to back weeks on the schedule, and I would go from one to the next. And it was a swish pan mentally because you're coming off this incredible excitement of the NCAA tournament, the entire tournament, not just the Final Four, the opening rounds, and all the games that you had to call through the process of getting down to the last four. It was exhilarating, exhausting all at the same time. And for 30, well, 1 year because of COVID, the tournament was canceled, but 37 years of going back to back. And I stepped aside from basketball at the 2023 Final Four in Houston, and I'm glad I did. It was time for someone else, Iron Eagle in this case, to be given the chance to call this great championship. And I needed more time on my end. I had been on the golden hamster wheel, so to speak,
Yeah.
for all those years. And Daddy needed to be home with his kids. I have two young children and an older daughter, and I just enjoyed being able to sit back as a fan and enjoy and take on the tournament. This year, I actually went to the Memphis site in the first week where my alma mater, Houston, was playing as a number one seed. And I went to the Final Four as a fan. And I enjoyed every minute of it. And of course, the Masters is still there in my life, and hopefully it will be for a long time.
Yeah, it's funny is we look at it. I'm sure by the time you finished up at everything in the Butler cabin on Sunday evenings, you must have been exhausted. I mean, it's exhilarating, but what a run that is.
Well, when it would end, there's melancholy because you wait all year for both of those events, and yes, you are exhausted, but you're not thinking about the fatigue. You're thinking about the good fortune to be able to have been there to try to document uh, what every year turned out to be wonderful storylines on both fronts, basketball and the Masters. And I would walk from Butler Cabin after we signed off. I'd walk back to the compound and just have that feeling of did I just get to witness this? I mean, and then now it's over. It it was just a grateful feeling in my heart, basically, in the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can feel it on TV, the broadcast. You guys do such a good job, but I mean, this is high intensity stuff, right? I mean, we're talking golf history at the highest levels. You are right there at the pulse. This is really, really high intensity stuff.
Well, I get lost in it, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I know it's intense, but I don't think about it. I find myself so immersed in the shot by shot, process of a tournament. I mean, I'm totally in a bubble. The zoning in on that is at the highest level for me.
Yeah.
And when the Masters plays out starting on Thursday, I pretty much aware of like every hole what someone is doing. We
Right.
start out with roughly 90 players in the field, and by the weekend, you've trimmed it down to somewhere around 50 for Saturday and Sunday. But I have a computer right off to the side, and I'm always tracking to see, just refresh, going right through the field. Oh, okay. Justin Thomas made a par 4. Okay. Oh, there's a birdie by Jordan Spieth over at the third. How did they do that? I go to a shot, I go to the IBM detail, and it'll show me they threw a wedge in there 3 feet. I haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah.
And then I keep moving. I just keep churning. The information overload for me is immense. I could sit down pretty much with any player when their round ends and be able to talk cogently about how they played.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if somebody could walk a player over to me, Hideki Matsuyama, and I would not know it was going to be Hideki, and I could say, Hideki, wow, I saw that you did this on 6 and that over there at 8, and yeah, I'm in. I'm all in on every single second of what's going on in
Yeah.
the match. So I love it.
Yeah, no, you do a great job. We're looking forward to many more years. Let me hit you with a quick NFL question. Right here at the forefront of the start here of the season. The history of the NFL is greatly comprised of outstanding star running backs: Jim Brown, Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Tony Dorsett, to name a few. With injury and durability concerns and the increased focus on the passing games, are the days of superstar NFL running backs quickly disappearing?
Yeah, they are in a way. Yes, you're right. The game has changed. The rules have changed. It's even changed the way that you play the running back when you're a coach. They become somewhat interchangeable. I mean, the days of when you really leaned heavily into Emmitt Smith and he was going to be your ball carrier throughout the game, that's now like it's like major league starting pitchers.
Yeah.
They're on a pitch count, and you don't get to see guys go get a complete game. Um, Everybody has basically a 2 running back tier system, and it's going to be usually 2-to-1 disbursement. Your main back gets 2, the other guy's going to get 1 of every 3, and that's going to cut down on numbers and yardage and et cetera, et cetera. So the Emmitt Smith rushing record is, I think that one's in the books for good. I
Yeah.
really do. I don't think that ever gets caught. People talk about records in other sports like the DiMaggio hitting streak. No one's really brought it up, but I think Emmett's got a record that's going to last forever because the position is interchangeable, or at least is viewed as interchangeable
Yeah.
by head coaches around the league. The guy that really kind of changed that was Bill Belichick.
Hmm.
He never put a great emphasis on who his running back was, uh, and that he could bring in guys like Kevin Falk or uh, um, just a whole series of guys that were not primary, and they would come in and they would produce
Yeah.
fresh legs, and they were all situational players, and
Right.
everybody else has kind of adopted that now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's listen, it's changed, and we could get into pitching, which I did a lot with Joe Buck, but we'll leave it at that because I really want to hit you with a couple of good golf questions. And
Sure.
you're so kind to come on here, but I'm going to put you on the spot with a couple of questions here, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Um, There's a very select group of 5 men who have achieved golf's career major slam. You have unique insight as to just how difficult it is to win a green jacket. And I don't say that just because you have a replica of the 13th hole in your backyard. We won't get into that. Rory needs a Masters win to complete the slam. He endured a heartbreaking loss at this year's U.S. Open at Pinehurst, and he's in the midst of a 10-year plus major win drought. Given how great of a talent he is and the anticipated number of Masters appearances still to come at age 35, it seems like the logical answer is yes, but who knows? There's only been 5. Do you think Rory will ultimately win a green jacket?
Okay, I'm going to talk first as a storyteller because that will be a wonderful story to tell. So I'm going to say yes as a storyteller. I believe in these incredible stories unfolding and getting dropped, into our laps to document. And I relish the chance to do that. The 5, of course, that have the career Grand Slam are Sarazen, Player, Nicholas, Hogan, and Tiger Woods. And you got Rory sitting there with 3 of the 4 legs, and he's had a lot of chances to try to get the Masters. Now he's had 10 chances to try to complete the career Grand Slam. It hasn't happened yet. I do believe in the power of Rory, the power of positive thinking, and I agree with you too. I think he's got another good 10 years to give it a shot,
Yeah.
and maybe even longer than that. Don't
Right.
forget, you got Jordan Spieth sitting there with 3 legs. It's
Yeah.
interesting on 1, 1, and 1. He's got He's got one each of the others, but he's missing the PGA Championship. And he's going to go through some off-season cleanup work, surgery on his wrist, and hopefully he comes back and plays at that level again. But I believe in the majesty of that record, that is the career Grand Slam, so much that when Tiger completed his career Grand Slam, it was at the Open Championship at St. Andrews, 2000. It's not our event to broadcast.
Yeah.
But he came to St. Andrews having won the U.S. Open a month earlier at Pebble Beach by 15 shots. The odds for him winning were about as good as, or likely as, anybody ever seen in golf. Trying to predict the golf winner is a very difficult thing to do. But at that time, Rory was in the midst of 7 out of 11 majors he won, 7 out of 11 played. So what did I do? I wanted to see it. Yeah. So on my week off, I flew to Scotland, and I went to witness Tiger complete the career Grand Slam, which he did.
That's awesome. That's really cool that you did.
Now, there were a couple other things that were going on that week that I wanted to see as well, but that was the primary driver. There was one other thing too, though, that I have to say was really important to me. That 2000 Open Championship at St. Andrews would mark the last live broadcast of Jim McKay's career. Jim McKay was a broadcast hero of mine, and I wanted to be there to take him to work the last day of his legendary career. He was someone I grew up watching. I trust you did too, Chris.
Sure, absolutely.
World of Sports, and anchoring the U.S. Open, the Open Championship, the PGA. They had 3 of the 4 majors. Yeah. And I had gotten to know Mr. McKay upon graduation from college. He invited me to come up to Connecticut to play golf with him, like within weeks of me graduating. There was a backstory to that too. I had written him letters as a kid, telling me how much I admired him, how I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to be him one day. And he wrote me back. I wrote him when I was 11 for the first time. And he would write me back on occasion. So now that I'm in college and I'm pursuing the business, he, we began to communicate a lot more often on a steadier basis. So he was a mentor and friend now. And I went over to that Open to see Tiger complete the career Grand Slam. And I went over to that Open to see Jim McKay on the last day of his broadcasting career. And I actually got to escort him right to the ABC announce tower, which was about 100 yards to the right of the first tee at the old course. And I watched him walk up the steps. He thanked me for coming over, and I said my goodbyes, and he waved goodbye like a president on top of Air Force One. And I went right back into the gallery and blended in with the gallery and went out and watched Tiger complete the career Grand Slam.
Wow, that's an awesome day. What a great day. Yeah, Jim was amazing. It's funny. You and I tried to connect before you hit the road. You guys, CBS, boy, the way the golf schedule wound up, you guys were grinding it out this year. But I knew that I wanted to ask you about Rory. And I'm watching the U.S. Open this year, and I'm thinking, all right, Rory's going to win this. My question about Rory winning, the Grand Slam is probably going out the window at this point. Boy, it was tough. It was tough to watch. It was a little bit shocking, and that's golf. That is just golf. So, after he didn't win there, I said, wow. I said, this is definitely getting interesting a little bit. So we're going to go with your yes there. It is a great story. Rory's a great champion. He's got a long way to go, but it is unbelievable how the pressure does build.
That was the Pinehurst final hole drama. It was amazing to sit back and watch. Obviously, NBC broadcasted really well, but Rory drove it into the rough on 18 and got one of the worst lies I'd seen all week. And he was able to hack it out of there and chip it up to about 4 feet. And everybody wants to say, oh, he choked. He missed a short putt. That putt broke like this. That putt was one of those left to right, all predicated on speed. You could stand there, any great player in the world, you could give them 10 balls and they're not going to make more than 5 of them.
Yeah.
It was not an automatic that he was going to
Yeah.
make the putt. And then, of course, right behind him, Bryson came up and hit a 50-something yard bunker shot to within just 2 feet to
Yeah.
get the par needed to win the championship. So hard luck, brutally tough luck,
Yeah.
uh, painful loss for Rory. But sometimes these things set up a bigger story, a
Mm.
bigger, more bountiful, beautiful story. And
Yeah.
maybe that is leading us to Augusta in the spring of 25. I would
Right.
like to see it.
All right. I love it. We're going to leave it at that. Sticking with golf, going to put you on the spot again. Is there a GOAT or two GOATs in the history of golf? Jack versus Tiger.
Well, it's completely different equipment because they're different eras. They're so similar that it's scary. Um, I don't want to diminish one over the other by saying, "Oh, he was definitely the greatest of all time." But I do look at Jack Nicklaus with his 18 majors, his 19 second place finishes, and I don't want to take anything away from him. That perch, he has the most. I was just with him last week at Castle Pines when the tour held its BMW championship at Castle Pines. Actually roomed together with
Huh.
Jack in one of the cottages there and interviewed him on the eve of the tournament. I love Jack Nicklaus. He's a friend and a mentor. Um, it's been a real blessing in my life to have the friendship of the whole Nicholas family. I'll just put it that way. And what a thrill it was, and the good fortune of covering Tiger's career. 82 wins, 15 majors. 57 of his 82 wins were on CBS, meaning I had 57 occasions for him to come up and try to say something different than the week before or the month before and the week before that and the month before that, and keep it fresh and interesting. Sometimes he's winning by double figures. He's winning by 15 shots or whatever it is. It was a real challenge, a great challenge to create the ability to make your story sound fresh.
I can imagine.
Tiger challenged me on that. 9 of his 15 majors were on CBS between the PGA and the Masters. So 9 out of 15, 57 out of 82. I had a lot of times of where Tiger had the triumphant moment on the 18th green and gave us one of those great reaction shots. None better, might I add, than 2019 at Augusta and the return to glory, as I called it at the time. It was, I didn't see it coming, but that day he was in a 5 or 6 way battle for the green jacket, and he did what he does. He outsmarted the field. He fought it through at 12 while everybody else was knocking it in the water, and he played a brilliant round of golf. And I mean, it's just such a privilege to be able to have sat there and tell his story time and time again.
Right, right. All right, so I'm going to take that you're you're voting goats and not a goat. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I give them
Yeah.
both they're much deserved too.
And I don't, in the interest of time, I won't get into it. But I remember I reached out to you. I mean, when you and Tiger did the recap of his win at the Masters,
Oh,
in the
thank you.
midst of the pandemic when there was no
Yes.
live sports, and it was emotional all around on Tiger's part, on your part, on my part. I'm sure anybody who was watching, I mean, that was not only so well done, but my God, the world needed that. The world of sports needed that. That was really, really special.
Well, it was the Sunday of the 2020 Masters. And of course, that ended up getting postponed, that year's Masters, until November. But we still had the airtime and we wanted to do something special with it. So I sat in front of my desktop computer at my home in Pebble Beach, California. And Tiger was at his home in Florida. And just like we are right now, the two of us looked into our computers, into the little camera that's on our screens, and we did a 3-hour television show. And he was so heartfelt, so genuine.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you actually bringing it up, because those were not easy times. Just forget about the pandemic. Let me take it to the little world of sports television. Not trying to compare it to the overall,
Yeah.
issues and difficulties and tragedies that came with COVID. But in sports television, on that day, on the Masters Sunday, we did a television show with Tiger, and he was he was at his best. He was absolutely at his best, talking about how much that win had meant to him the year before. And I was really proud of that show.
Yeah.
And not many people remember it. Things move quickly in our world. We're
Yeah.
on to the next thing, and that was 4.5 years ago. But I'm
Yeah.
grateful that you remembered it.
I'll just say, and you guys covered it that day, Tiger walking from the 18th green to the scoring area that Sunday with his son Charlie in tow, and just the expression on Charlie's face was as good as I've ever seen in the world of sports, right? I mean, he finally understood it. He never really knew how good his dad was. And just that look of excitement and wonderment, like, whoa, this is awesome. I mean, that was just truly, truly special.
It's sports television to me at its best is, and I'm talking about commentary here. I'm just talking about the coverage of it. That's what I saw as a young boy when the likes of Jim McKay, Jack Whitaker, Pat Summerall, Dick Enberg, Chris Schenkel, all of them would have a moment that big, and the powerhouse that ABC Sports was back in that day, and CBS Sports under the stewardship of Frank Tricchini, and the way they captured those moments. Root Arledge over at ABC, Frank at CBS. That was the draw for me. It's not about statistics. It's amazing how many times I get parents or kids that reach out to me, and they want me to know that they want to pursue the business. And one of the things they often will say, my son knows all the stats. He can recite, at bats, RBIs, this and that. And so I think he should go into your business. What advice do you give him? And I always say the same thing: throw out the stats. It's not about the numbers. It's
Huh.
about the heartbeat. It's about the ability to capture that moment in as succinctly as you can. It's about the story. It's about the human achievement. It's about the humanity of it. So for me, whether it's calling the NFL with Tony or covering the golf with Trevor and the crew, it's about moments like that.
Yeah.
That's what the moment needs, and really even demands. And that's why you're entrusted to be put in those positions, is that when to insert yourself, when not to,
Yeah.
and how to best be able to deliver a little undercurrent to a moment that is gigantic in the annals of the sport, like that moment of Tiger winning in 2019. Faldo and I, that time, Nick was our lead analyst, we did not say anything after the putt went in. And I said, the return to glory for 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Somebody looked it up once. That's what they
Huh.
said it was. There was nothing we could say that could make that moment better. It
Yeah.
was captured so beautifully by our production and technical teams.
Huh.
But once we did come back in, it had to be short and sweet and reflect the emotion of the moment. It
Yeah.
did not need to be after that 2.5 minute celebration on the green, walk with his family to the scores tent. The last thing I need to say was, today he hit 15 out of 18 greens. He only missed 2 fairways. No, it's not about the numbers, folks. It's not about the stats. It's
Yeah.
about the heartbeat. And that's what you try to capture if you can.
Yeah. No, it's really special. I do not want to get in trouble with your executive assistant, Melissa. You got time for one more? Or you going to roll
Sure,
through?
go ahead.
All
Absolutely.
right, let's talk about my second favorite University of Houston golfer. It's well known, but still amazing that you roomed with Freddie Couples at the
Yes.
University of Houston. given the impact that you both went on to make in the world of sports, can you tell me what it was like to room with your great friend for a few years and any special anecdotes that you might be able to share without seriously violating any roommate confidentiality?
Uh,
I mean,
I'm
Freddie is
honored.
just one in 50 million. The two
He's
of you together is really amazing.
still feels kind of hard to believe, doesn't it, that you can come out of the same dormitory, the same dorm suite, so to speak, and be able to live out your childhood dreams. You know, there were four of us that lived together. And you mentioned the two of us, but it was also John Horn, who played on the tour 2 years and remains a very dear friend, and Blaine McAllister, who won 5 times on tour and had a great career. We actually, the four of us, lived in a little 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom suite in a beat up old dormitory that should have been raised a long time ago. But the four of us were really close pals back then in the 70s, and we remain that way today. So I'm proud of all three of my roomies equally. But in Freddie's case, to see him be able to achieve not only a green jacket victory, but also a Hall of Fame recognized career. It's one of the great joys of my life, to be honest. I saw how much he wanted it when we were kids. He knew how much I wanted to be a part of the television broadcast of the Masters. That was the real draw for me as a young boy, was that one show. That's the one that really inspired me to want to be in the business. And here we were with both with dreams that would land if they were going to come to fruition. They were going to land at the same place, Augusta National Golf Club.
Right.
And we were fortunate that in our 20s, those chances came true to compete there for Freddie, to broadcast there for me. And then it became truly only a matter of time until that little scene played out that we used to practice, not every day, not every month, but a couple of times in school. We play acted, dreamed, kids pretended, whatever you want to call it. We rehearsed that green jacket ceremony. And now on April the 12th, 1992, that ceremony actually happened for real. And we weren't sitting in our dorm room anymore, and the world was watching. So that to me is the biggest of my broadcasting career. That's the biggest thrill. That's number one. And behind it comes a whole smorgasbord of Super Bowl calls, Final Four calls, other Masters tournaments, PGA championships, PGA Tour moments. I've been very fortunate. Olympic broadcast back in the 90s, hosting for 3 years. Blessed beyond belief.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just an incredible, incredible career. I will say quickly, I saw a nice interview with Freddie speaking about you recently, where he said, early on, the coach said, "Hey, some of you guys are going to go out, you're going to have great NFL careers," but he goes, "Forget about it." He goes, "Jimmy's going to be president of the United States someday." He said, "That's the one who really matters here."
He did.
That's
Our
pretty
coach,
good.
Dave Williams. Dave Williams was a huge part of my life and my ability to dream big and achieve what I was dreaming about. He was a great motivator of people. He believed in his kids that played for him. He knew I didn't have the talent level to be like Fred and Blaine and John, my roomies, but he would always introduce me to people as someday he's going to be the president of the United States. And I still have some of those old cougars come up and say, "You're going to be the next president of the United States." So now he retires, coach does. He wins 16 national championships in 30 years. He was the winningest NCAA coach of any sport of all time. And Golf Digest does this big profile piece upon his retirement, like 10 pages. And in the body of that story, he said, it's the writer, Dwayne Netlin, writes that this guy, Nick Faldo, this guy, Bill Rogers, this guy, Bruce Litsky, Fuzzy Zeller, John Mahaffey, on, Fred Couples, all, list some of the guys that played for Dave Williams. And then there was the line in that story, that profile piece: Even CBS's young broadcaster, Jim Nantz, played golf at the University for Dave Williams, comma, quote, he's going to be the president of the United States one day, end quote, said Williams. So I thought, oh my gosh, he really like means this. It's in the Golf Digest column. Anyway, it's a testament to how much power you gain from other people believing in you.
Yeah.
It's what gets us there is others lifting you on their shoulders and showing you the world that they believe that you can achieve. That's how we get there on the path to success. Yeah, we have to summon the strength. We have to go inward. We have to have the resolve and the dedication, the passion to get there. You also need that pick me up, put you on someone else's shoulders and say, oh my gosh, these people actually think I can do this. It strengthens you. And it certainly helped my cause to be able to realize my dreams.
Jim, that is awesome. I'm gonna formally wrap this in the interest of time, but I can't say how much I appreciate this. I would like to say you're a Hall of Famer, probably the best ever at what you do. And I can say with confidence that you're a better person than broadcaster. All the best to you and your family, bud. Thank you so much.
Chris, bless you, my friend. What you've been going through in your battles with cancer, I'm thinking of you, praying for you. You've been always just a tower of strength to me and a wonderful friend. I wish our paths crossed more often, but I'm really glad we could do this today. And I'm always wishing you the very best. Thinking of you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thanks,
All the
Chris.
best. We'll catch up soon.
I look forward to it. I really do.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.